Untap Upkeep, and welcome back to the channel if you've been here before. And if you haven't, then please sit back, relax, and enjoy this wild show that I have for you all today. So, this is deck number 3 of the ones I am building for my local game store, and they're up to $90 maximum budget challenge that we're doing. For today, we are going to take a look at Raffine Scheming Seer. And we're going to see just how nasty I actually made this deck. But there is one card I will have to omit from the deck because as it sits on Mox Field, it is actually under budget. When we actually just got done scanning it into TCG Player, it was a little bit over budget, so no big deal, no big deal. A swap here and there, and the deck was actually pretty good to go. So let's take a look at the commander. So for a white, a blue, and a black, we get a 1/4 Sphinx Demon that has flying and ward 1, which if you've never seen ward 1 or ward in general, means in order for you to like blow him up, bounce him, or remove him from the battlefield, you must pay, in this case, an additional 1 mana, because if you do not, your spell's automatically countered. And that makes you a very sad, sad person. Oops. Excuse me. So let's move deeper into what he actually does. Why pick this commander? Well, this was the color wedge that the player was given to build a deck around, and another fellow player actually suggested this commander. So shout out to our good friend Garrett. Love you. Can't wait to see you air the actual video for the tournament, and hopefully I'll be able to share that link and let you all know about it. So let's move on though. So whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Don't know what connive is? That's okay. He explains it. So when you connive, you're going to draw X cards and then discard X cards. Okay? Then you're going to put a 1/1 counter on the creature of your choice for each non-land card discarded this way. So if you chose like Raffine, for instance, when his ability goes onto the stack. So we're attacking with, I don't know, let's say 5 creatures, including Raffine. We're going to choose a creature that's attacking, so let's choose Raffine. And then we're going to draw 5 cards. And we're going to look at them. And we're going to discard any combination of them that equals 5. And let's say they were all 5 creatures. Raffine now gets a +5/+5 permanent boost to him, making him a very deadly 6/9 creature. Then you can move to combat damage. It makes it a little bit hard to deal with him. Now, Raffine's not the only creature you want to target with this. We did some things that make things not so fun. But let's dive into the creatures, which we have a whopping 31 creatures in here. But they're worth it. I guarantee they're worth it, everybody. Let's just dive in. You ready? Take the show with me. So first up, the Archfiend Ifnir. If you can get this onto the battlefield and at least 2 or 3 other creatures, and he can stay on the battlefield, it is curtains for your opponents. They will never have another creature. Because Archfiend says, whenever you cycle or discard another card, you put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. So let's say he was one of the 5 creatures that was out when we did that attack just a minute ago. We are drawing 5 cards. We are discarding 5 cards. He doesn't care if they're land, non-land creature. He doesn't matter. All he cares about is, did you discard how many cards? 5? 5 cards, you say? So we're going to put 5 -1/-1 counters on all of your opponent's things. Theory, that should kill everything. That means he's a very big board wipe in our deck. And honestly, as long as he's on the battlefield and you're able to keep the board wiped, you should, in theory, you should steamroll everybody. There should be nobody that could stand in front of you. Just in case him or another key piece dies, we have the Archpriest of Shadows. So for 5 mana, we get a 4/4 human warlock that says, backup. When this creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and if that's another creature, it gains the following abilities until end of turn. so it will gain Death Touch, and most importantly, this main creature's ability. So whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or a battle, which we don't have to worry about, I don't believe, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if we play this, we give this ability to any creature we have that can hopefully just punch through, or like Raffine, because he does have flying. Not a lot of decks worry about flyers enough, so there is that. So you could potentially fly on over with Raffine, punch, and get Archfiend back, and then just continue the pain train. Continue the pain train. We are running the Baleful Strix, just a classic in any kind of blue-black X combination deck. It's just a simple 1/1 bird with flying, Death Touch, and when it enters, we get to draw a card. The Blighted Agent, this is kind of a sneaky one I kind of put in here. It cannot be blocked. So it is a perfect target to throw 1/1 counters on, and it's going to be the perfect target because it's going to eat a kill spell ASAP. Because it has Infect. And Infect basically means I don't care if you have 1 billion trillion million mega zillion health, you get 10 poison counters and you're out of the game. So if you're looking to play this deck as it sits currently as a budget restriction, Blighted Agent, if you can get it down and get enough counters on it, it is going to be a bigger problem for your opponents to deal with than anything else on your battlefield. Moving forward, this is the card I'm having to take out of the deck from the TCG player's scan. It is a little bit over budget restrictions by about $20. We just added in a Gnarling Hound from the Murders of Karlov Manor. It's not Gnarling Gorehound, that's what it is. To take its place, just a simple 1-drop creature that whenever something power 2 or less ETBs, we're able to surveil. It goes really well with our overall game plan. If you're not doing budget restriction as much, if you're able to build this deck as it sits right now, he's amazing for a powerhouse in this deck. So for 5 mana, we get a 4/4 zombie wizard that says whenever you discard a creature card, make a 2/2 black zombie creature token. We're very creature heavy. That is very likely to happen. Whenever you discard a land, make double black. In this situation, unless we're able to do it at instant speed, that's irrelevant. That mana's just going to go away. But whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, we get to draw a card. So if you discard anything that's a artifact, instant, or sorcery, you're able to draw cards. It's a very good draw engine for the deck. Unfortunately, I'm having to take it out for the budget restrictions, but that is okay. Moving forward, we have another unblockable creature in the Changeling Outcast. It can't block and it can't be blocked. It doesn't matter that it can't block because we're not caring about that. We're caring about turning it sideways and punching through for damage. The Grey Harbor Merfolk is another creature that, guess what? It can't be blocked. And then it gets a +2/+0 for as long as you control your commander that's a creature or a planeswalker. So anytime we play our commander, this thing's going to get a power boost. Ginger Brute has a 1 mana 1/1 with haste. Not a big deal. We can sack him to gain 3 life if we need to because he is a food. More importantly, we can pay 1 mana to make him unblockable unless that creature that goes to block it has haste. Ghostly Pilferer. He becomes untapped. We can pay 2 mana. If we do, we get to draw a card. So it is another source of decent card draw after we turn things sideways. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, we get to draw a card. So if he's out fast enough and your opponents go to play their commander, we get to draw a card. Or something else from exile. We're drawing cards. We like this. More importantly, we could discard a card to make him unblockable. Olinda and Azor is another really great synergy piece with our commander, and you probably could flip them back and forth if you really felt like just trying to experiment with the deck. I think they complement each other fairly well. So for 3 mana, a white, a blue, and a black, we get a very big 6/6 Vampire Knight Sphinx. That's a mouthful. But it also has flying, it has ward 2, so it's essentially double our commander in both strength and protection. And it has a stack of abilities. So its first ability is whenever Alondra and Azor attack, you may pay X white, blue, black. And if you do, you're going to draw X cards. Sweet. So we have another source of card draw. We got to pay a lot into it, but we got another source of card draw, especially late in the game. And then this is the step that I really, really like about him, or them, I should say, because it is a partner pairing. So at the beginning of each end step, you may pay for life. And if you do, you're going to create a number of 1/1 black vampire creature knight tokens with lifelink equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. So that means if our earlier situation, if we were to attack, draw 5 cards, discard 5 cards, get all of our abilities just humming and firing on all cylinders, and this is on the battlefield, at the end of the turn, we are going to pay 4 life and we get to make 5 bodies that have lifelink. So potentially, we're able to go up a life if they all have to chump block, and we're not really that worried about it. I mean, that's pretty sweet in my opinion. Demir Infiltrator, 2 mana, 1/3. Guess what? It can't be blocked. It's also a tutor. You can transmute it by paying 1, a blue, and a black, and we can go find another 2-drop from our deck. Any 2-drop we want, and put it into our hand. So it's a nice way to guarantee that we can get some kind of advantage going. Chasm Skulker, it's just kind of a no-brainer. Every time we're going to draw a card, this thing's going to get bigger. And then when this thing blows up, we're going to make 1/1 blue squid creature tokens equal to the number of 1/1 counters that it had when it blew up. This is another one that your opponents, if they actually pay attention and they know what they're looking at, they're not going to want to let you keep this thing, and they're not going to want to let it get big. The Gudjul Lurker, Gudjul, just a 1 mana, can't be blocked. Invisible Stalker has hexproof, meaning your opponents can't target this thing by spells or abilities. So he is a very sweet target to start throwing all these 1/1 counters on. He already has built-in protection, and he is already unblockable. Looter Ilkor has Shadow and is basically unblockable, because unless your opponent has something with Shadow, they can't block it. And then whenever it deals damage to an opponent, we're going to draw a card and then discard a card. We gotta like that as well. Midnight, I thought it'd be great to throw in here. Just a 0 mana 1/1. It doesn't have any kind of like evasion, like it's not unblockable or flying or nothing like that, which is kind of a downside. But excuse me, at any point in time, you're able to turn this thing sideways, and you can always pump it to make it survive if you think somebody's going to move in for a block and get rid of it, or you can just let it eat the graveyard. We have a couple of ways to get it back anyway, so it's half of one dozen of another. It's just a nice creature. And at 0 mana, it's just going to advance our board. Mischievous Mystic, say that 5 times fast. Just a 2 mana 2/1 with flying, so it has a little bit of evasion. It's hard to block. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So it also can make bodies that are difficult for our opponent to block. It only triggers for the second card we draw in a turn. So in our earlier situation, if we draw 5, it's only going to trigger after the second one, which is fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Mist Cloaked Herald. Guess what? It's a 1 mana that can't be blocked. The Shoreline Looter, 2 mana, can't be blocked, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card unless 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. Guess what? We're yeeting things in our graveyard left and right whenever we start to attack. It won't be hard to get 7 or more cards in that graveyard, and this thing is going to turn on. And instead of discarding a card, we're just going to continue to draw cards. River Sneak. Guess what? 2 mana, 1/1, that can't be blocked. You should be seeing a theme here and why this is going to be such a nasty deck. This is another really great piece for this deck. So this is Quasar, Augur of Agonies. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life. And you gain 1 life. So if we draw 5 cards and discard 5 cards, we gain 5 life in either a person, or we can distribute it out so multiple people lose a life. Probably better just to target 1 person in general. This was just kind of like an autumn include for this. I mean, this is just a no-brainer. This is Psychosis Crawler, 5 mana, that says whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses life. So, again, our earlier first step example, whenever we are drawing 5 cards and discarding 5 cards, if this is out, each opponent is going to lose 5 life. You gotta love it. Priest of Fell Rites. So for 2 mana, we get a 2/2 that says tap it, pay 3 life, sacrifice the priest, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, only as a sorcery. Kind of a downside, but it allows us to be able to bring back something. So if like our Psychosis Crawler or anything like we really felt like needing was to be brought back, we can. For a additional cost of 3, a white and a black, we can actually bring it back from the graveyard for a second go around, and the only difference is after this time it will be exiled. So beware of when you're using that. But this is one of our reanimation capabilities to get one of these other pieces back that we really feel we need. Maybe it's an unblockable creature, maybe it's a source of card draw, maybe it's Archfiend if near to keep the board clean. Ornithopter is just another little ramp piece. Silent Hall Creeper does quite a bit. It can't be blocked. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, choose one that has been chosen so you can put 1/1 counters on it. You get to draw a card from it, and then finally you can make it become a copy of another target creature you control. So you could essentially double this into another Archfiend, Chasm Stalker, a Psychosis Crawler, a Quasar. Use your imagination. I mean, you can make this pretty nasty. Siren Storm Tamer allows us to pay a blue, sack it, counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. So it's just a nice, basically 1 mana counter spell. It has flying, so it's a little bit hard to block. That's why it's a good card for the deck. Slitherblade, 1 mana, can't be blocked. Sun Titan, Fun Titan gets almost everything in this list back whenever it attacks or enters the battlefield, so we had to throw it in here. Tormented Soul, it can't block and is unblockable, so it's kind of like having the Changeling up there. This just another solid card, honestly. Triton Shore Stalker, again, 1 mana, can't be blocked. And finally, we have Wonder. Wonder is a great bomb in this deck, and we love to see it hit our graveyard. We thrill, scream when it goes, oh no, right to the graveyard. Because it has flying. And then as long as Wonder's in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. Oh my. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to get spicy. Excuse me. But we need a little bit of a sip to continue forward into this drip. Moving on to our sorceries, though. We're having Ascend from Avernus, which is one of our mass reanimation spells that inspired me to build this deck the way that I did. So for triple white and X, we're going to cast this and return all creature and planeswalker cards with mana value X or less from our graveyard to the battlefield, and then we exile Ascend from Avernus. I don't know if you actually paid attention. Our mana curve is not that high creature-wise. There's only a handful of creatures that are bigger than 2 mana or so that we really ought to care about. And that just makes it bad for our opponents. If like Wonders in the graveyard, we probably don't want to go higher than 4 or higher than 3, which we don't really need to anyway, unless we just want to be able to get the Chasm Skulker back. But at least if we get the Priest of the Fells back and on a following turn, we could crack it to get something else back that we need. So, pretty sweet card. Running Dam because it's just a nice overloaded board wipe. So you can just single target creature, or for paying 2 white, we can destroy all creatures on the battlefield. And that's okay. Dread Return. For 4 mana, we're able to return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield. It also has flashback, meaning sack 3 creatures and we can play it again. It'll be exiled then, but that's okay. And we can reanimate something else. Like a Fun Titan, Sun Titan. Yeah. Kaya's Wrath. Destroy all creatures. You gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way. So for white, white, black, black, it's another big, big board wipe, and it could save our butt. We have reanimation in our deck, so we're not really too concerned with how all our stuff dies. We also are running another mass reanimation spell in Living Death. Now it affects all players, but the way it works is really, really funny. So if you've never seen Living Death, this is how it breaks down. Each player exiles all cards from their graveyard. So you go through your graveyard, and you're going to find all your creature cards, and you're going to set them aside. And then all the creature cards you have on your battlefield and everybody's battlefield, they're going to chuck them right to the graveyard. And then all the things you had in there beforehand are coming right back onto the battlefield. So potentially, this is a nice way that you could get a few extra triggers, unblockable things, whatever. So like if somebody before us just did a board wipe and we have this in hand, and we weren't really that affected by what was on the battlefield. Okay, so let's just Living Death. Let's flip everything and do it again. Preordain, just some spontaneous card draw, scry 2 and draw some cards. Victimize, another way to reanimate, as well as Unburial Rites. They both allow us to bring some stuff back. Unburial Rites actually has flashback, so it is a card that we don't mind chucking to the graveyard, because we can always use it again later. Finally, our last piece of mass reanimation is Raise the Past. This card is so hot. I love seeing this card. It is a very interesting card to have in a deck. So, for 2 white, white, return all creature cards at mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh no. Oh no. All of our unblockable things, they're value 2 or less, guys. People are going to be hurt. Bad. So, moving to our instance, we're not running very many in here either. We have Offer You Can't Refuse, Counterspell, Void Rend, Despark, Negate. They all are some of our interactive pieces. Frantic Search allows us to draw, untap some lands, discard 2 cards. Opt allows us to scry and draw. Think Twice allows us to draw, and we can even flash it back and draw again. So it's another one of those cards that we don't mind chucking to the grave. Moving forward, we have our typical sweep of mana rocks with 2 special includes. We're running Arcane Signet, Soria's Signet, Orzhov Signet, Damir's Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, Soul Ring, and we're having a new special guest with the Springleaf Drum. We have a lot of 1-drops. It makes sense. And we have a Liquid Metal Torque. It's just a simple 2-drop add mana. Of course, we have the Swifties to the Booties. Moving forward, our enchantment package is really, really dumb in my opinion. So first up, there's Ominous Seas. So whenever we draw a card, we get a 4-shadow counter on this enchantment, and then we can remove 8 4-shadow counters from it and make an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. So this is, if it's on the battlefield and we use that earlier example, we draw 5 cards, it gets 5 counters on it, and at any point in time, as long as it survives, we are going to be able to pop this and make an 8/8 body. Knowledge is power. I don't know why this card is so cheap. This thing seems so broken and powerful. So for 5 mana, creatures we control will get a +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. Guys, gals, non-binary, whatever you would like to be called, human beings, snakes, tooth fairies, it doesn't matter. Wizards. Why is this card so cheap? Why are we not playing this card more? Blue-white has got some of the most broken and cheap ways to draw cards continuously. Our commander, in our earlier example, We're going to draw 5 cards. That means our creatures, before we even get to blockers, are going to get a +5/+5 already, on top of whatever creature we decided to pick to give the 1/1 counters to. This is nuts, people. My goodness. This deck is going to hum. All of our stuff is unblockable. All of our big stuff is going to be huge. We also are running Faith of the Devoted. So whenever you cycle or discard a card, we may pay 1 mana, and if we do, each opponent is going to lose 2 life and we're going to gain 2 life. So if we have nothing else significant going on, or we are just trying to slash limb life totals, then we are able to pay a mana for every card we have discarded and just start stacking. So in that instance, if we had 5 open mana, we draw 5 cards, our stuff gets +5/+5, and we are going to make something 5/5 bigger. We're going to discard 5 cards, and it doesn't matter what 5 they are. We're going to pay 5 mana and drain all of our opponents for each card. That means 5 times 2 is 10, and we gain 10. I like those odds. Last but not least, in our enchantment package, we have Drake Haven. So for 3 mana, this is going to come out. It says whenever you cycle or discard a card, we may pay a single color. Then if we do, we get to create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. Magic players, these 2 cards together is a horrible thing for our opponents. So late game, if these are somehow alive, we could pay, 4 mana, for instance. We'll have 1 mana open, but we could pay 4. We can either drain the table or make more bodies. We could either just make nothing but bodies, or we can do nothing but drain the table. My best advice whenever you play this deck, do not put both of these out. Put one or the other. The same thing goes for our dear friend the Psychosis Crawler or Quasar. Only put one of these bad boys out. Do not just sit here and continuously plunge the battlefield with our creatures. Put a handful, 5, 6, 7 creatures out that are unblockable. Make 1 or 2 of them big, scary, and sit on the rest as much as you can. It's okay to chuck them to the grave. We are looking for Ascend from Avernus, Raise the Past, and or Living Death to be able to bring them all back to the battlefield and just make our opponent's life miserable. Honestly, a lot of the counter spells you probably aren't going to use, and that's okay. Moving forward, here's our mana base. It's pretty typical. I mean, we're running all of the budget lands we possibly can to help make the deck calm. From dual lands to pain lands to check lands to what tutors we can actually put into the deck, and even a simple ghost quarter. I mean, there's not much going on here. There's not much different to see. We're on a budget, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure you can imagine, though, now that this overview of the deck is pretty much complete, that this is going to get nasty. And you can wrap your head around the fact that if you were to up the budget, or take off the budget, so you had no budget restriction, this deck would just slam. And you could actually probably take cues from the standard deck right now that allows you to basically go infinite. It's a white-black deck, if I'm not mistaken, and you could do that combination in this deck, and you could go infinite and drain the table. There's a multitude of ways you can take this deck and just make people absolutely miserable. As you can see, our mana curve is really, really dumb, guys. We're really, really low. This deck I've built just to punish everybody. I want people to just go, why? Why did you let him build this? Because I'm a monster. And I like it. Our opening hands, they seem fairly well. We're getting mana, we're getting bodies, we're getting creatures. Now that one's a nope, bye-bye. That one I think would be slow. I don't see black mana. Okay, we would eventually hit the black mana, and that's okay. We would have a couple of creatures that we could start turning sideways to trigger our commander, make Chasm Skulker huge. Wonder I would never play. I would keep it in the hand. Archfiend would be great to play. So yeah, okay. Let's say this turn 3. We should probably have the Shore Stalker and a Mist Cloak Herald out by now. So then when we play our commander, we can swing in for 2, make one of them really big. In a way, they're just going to get +2/+2. And discard a couple things. So let's see, if we would draw 1, draw 2. Probably keep the boots, but chuck the... probably chuck the Wander. And the Dam, actually. Because the next turn... Oh, I guess it wouldn't matter. We hit our land drop, so we could play the Archfiend, and now we're off to the races. We're keeping the board clear. Again, not a bad hand. We don't have black. There's a very good chance one of the opponents could be playing black. So we have Counterspell Magic setting up. We have Shoreline Looter and things like that. I mean, not bad. Potentially, if at least one deck has access to black, our commander would be out, and we're just, as you can see, we're just humming along. I like it. I like it. I think it's a fun deck. I think it's a hilarious deck. I think anybody that gets us at the tournament is gonna know that this is not nice, and it's not meant to be nice. I'm sitting here to punish, maim, destroy everything in my way. Almost like I'm a dragon. So this has been Raffine, the Scheming Seer, at a $90 budget build. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, I don't say it very often, but at the description box below every deck tech on my channel, there is going to be a link to this actual deck list, so you can check it out, do some playtest hands, and see how you like it, how you don't like it. It's very janky at the budget, and I think it's just a hilarious Esper Reanimator list, really. And you can make it better. You can add like some bigger, juicier targets if you really feel like it. I went with Unblockable to keep the curve low and just be able to do constant damage. Half of one, does of another. It kind of depends how you want to build the deck. Another fun way to actually build the deck is to go like full mid-range and use the commander to basically keep digging through the deck, and you can run the Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, better known as Demon Fish combo in the deck, and win the game that way as well. But again, this has been Raffine. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this budget build? Is there anything you would swap here and there for the budget restriction that might flow a little better? Might not. Is there a deck that you want to see me build that you're not quite sure what it would look like? Well, I got news for y'all. We actually do have that. We have somebody who has requested me to build a new deck. And the comment was left on a previous deck tech. So shout out to Nicholas Graveland. You are awesome. And you are going to make me have a lot of people be very, very sad people. You have asked me to build a Toxic Infect Poison Force card draw commander deck. Oh god, with Sheldred the Apocalypse. So I guess, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, get ready, because there's going to be a deck tech soon about this. I'm going to make so many people sad. But hey, that's what I do. That's me. Anybody that knows me, knows me. But again, I have been the Buddha Dragon. Wait for that next video to come out. Please like, share, subscribe. Show me some love. Leave me some comments. I cannot do this without you and all of your wonderful support. So thank you so very much. And I mean, if you're watching my shorts, if you're watching my channel, it come on, subscribe. I see there's a lot of returning viewers. Help me out. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Put me on mute in the background and let this video go. It doesn't matter. Make YouTube pay me so that I don't ever have to ask you to pay me with a Patreon. Pretty sweet deal. But I've been the Buddha Dragon. Remember, rub that belly for mana. May all your games be filled with luck. And until the next time, we'll see you then.